Hello, thank you for joining me. Melissa B. Duarte here. We are reading through the entirety of my book, The Ultimate A to Z of Business English Idioms. We're going through letter by letter. Each episode is a new letter. In each letter, there's between 15 and 30 idioms. Now, because this is a podcast, I'm not going to rely on the video aspect of having the idiom written in the video with the example sentences and synonyms. Of course, I will have that for the video. But because this is a podcast format, I'm going to dive really deep into each of these idioms, giving you lots of examples, lots of scenarios, lots of repetition. So by the end of this podcast, you will be able to use, remember, and understand all of these idioms. And at the end of the podcast, or the end of the episode, I will have a quiz on all the idioms of the letter that we've covered today. Let's jump right in. Okay, we're jumping into G, idioms starting with G, and there's quite a few of them. If you are following with my book at home, we're on page 49. Okay, page 49. Otherwise, if you're watching the video, I'm going to put the entire page up there on the screen. And again, if you're listening to the podcast, just come back if you want to review and see all the idioms there with their definitions and examples. Okay, let's jump right in. First one we have is gain ground. Gain ground, meaning to progress or advance in the situation, to gain ground, as if it's like a race and you have two people competing in a race and one person is gaining more ground. I mean, they're getting more ground between them and the start line, or between them and the finish line is shorter. That's what it means to gain ground. I'll give you an example here. Our marketing strategy is starting to gain ground in the competitive market. So to gain ground, just like in a race, if you have two racers and you have the start here and the finish line here, and two racers, if one's faster than the other, they're getting more ground than the other person, or they're really progressing. So anything that starts being quite productive or moving forward at a good pace, we can say something is gaining ground. So, for example, maybe you're having a networking session and you're talking to a couple different people, and you come back to your boss saying, yeah, this has been a really good event. I've really gained some ground in regards to contacts in this industry. Meaning, I came into this networking event with no contacts. Now I'm leaving the networking event with 8 contacts. I gained ground. I've made some progress that way. So the gain ground could be used in so many different ways too. If you're new in an industry, maybe you're a bookseller, or maybe you're selling an app. And in the beginning, it's just kind of there and available, but it's not really popular. But as it gets more popular, as you sell more products, you're gaining ground, you're advancing, you're progressing. So it means to gain ground. A person can also gain ground if someone's in a role and they're quite new to a role. They're kind of in the beginning. Think of a race. You have your beginning and your finish, and they're in the beginning of the role, and over the weeks, over the months, over the years, they can be really gaining ground in their industry, in their field, in their company, which means they're progressing at a very good pace. Gain ground. It's a good one. Okay, next one. Oh, I love this next one. I love this next one. Get down to business. Get down to business. Now, I'll read you the meaning example, then I'll dive into it. Okay, get down to business, meaning to start working seriously or focusing on the main task. Okay, example. After a little small talk, we got down to business and began discussing the terms of the agreement. Okay, so get down to business. The reason I like this so much is it's a really great segue from small talk to serious business conversations. And this is what you say. So every culture is different when it comes to small talk. In English, small talk is really important. It's more important in British English than American English, but still you have to have those niceties. Oh, how are you? How have you been? What's happening with project A? Haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. What's happening in your side of the world? So you do have to have small talk in business English across the board when it comes to the English world if you're doing business in English. Now, but then it gets to a point where there's enough small talk. Let's get down to business. So this is a very polite way to say, okay, we're done this. Now we're doing this. So you're small talking with people. Oh, how was your weekend? I heard you went to Manila on a business trip. Was that good? Yeah, it was great. Okay, everyone's here for the meeting. Let's get down to business. Okay, this is our agenda. or a meeting with two people, maybe on a Zoom call or something. And oh, how's your connection? Good. Oh, good. Okay. Did you get the brief I sent you earlier? Yeah, I did. Okay, good. We're going to wait for one person to come in. Okay, they're here. Okay, guys, let's get down to business. So it just means we're ready to now start talking about something seriously. We're ready to start doing what we're meant to do in this environment, in this area. So again, this is great for meetings, interviews. I mean, the interviewee, that's the person applying for the job, would not say this. It's a little strange, but the interviewer would. So again, you're having an online interview and, oh, nice to see you. You have a great resume. Okay, yeah. Okay, let's get down to business. Tell me about this gap in your CV. So it just means we're going to go to the serious core part of our discussion and what's most important. Now, get down to business doesn't have to just be for meetings at all. It could be, I don't know, Monday at work and staff is coming together and they're chit-chatting. Chit-chatting just means small talking, and they're chit-chatting, and okay, you know what, I've got a lot of emails to get through. Let's get down to business, which means, okay, let's all go back to work. Let's all focus on our work right now. So anytime people are kind of small talking, relaxing a little bit, um, whatever the case may be, they're not actually they're not actually doing their job or functioning too much in business. They're kind of working their way to it. To get down to business means, okay, we're going to stop this and now do the serious stuff. Now do the work we need to do. It's a really great one. Okay, next one here is get carried away. Get carried away is great because this is an idiom that's so descriptive. I'm going to read you the meaning and example. And incredibly common, incredibly common. Okay, meaning to become overly enthusiastic about something that one drops the ball. Now, drops the ball, I put an idiom there in the meaning. Might be a little tricky for you guys. So, it, a ball, a ball. A ball in business English is your responsibility. Okay. And if you drop the ball, oops, I failed to do my responsibility. If you go to my idiom podcast on the letter D of this book, a few letters back, you'll have dropped the ball there. So to become overly enthusiastic about something that one drops the ball. So I'm going to give you an example here. I got carried away with the design of the book that I missed a few typos. That's a real sentence from me. So what it means. So I was writing my book and I designed my book also. I did everything in the book. And I wrote the book, and then I okay, I gotta do focus now on design to make it look good, to make it engaging for students. So then I got really focused on the design of the book. Well, I didn't notice a typo in the first print. And so I got carried away by the design. So just like the wind can carry away a leaf, if you're so excited or enthusiastic about something, you're focusing on it so much that you kind of drop the ball. You drop a little bit of your responsibility. So now to get carried away doesn't always mean something negative, but it means something else isn't necessarily done. So, for example, you're meeting with client A, and you need to discuss three things on the agenda, and you have 1 hour to meet with them. Fine. So on topic two, you and the client get carried away, which just means you're so excited or enthusiastic to talk about that topic that you just forgot the time. You got carried away. So you let the ball drop on knowing what time it is, and you weren't able to go to the point three on the agenda for the meeting. So we got carried away during the meeting and we weren't able to touch on point three. We'll meet next week to cover that one. So it just means you were so enthusiastically talking, you just lost track of time. You forgot what time it was. Same kind of thing if you're at, again, a conference and perhaps you have a meeting in the cafeteria at 3 o'clock, but there's an amazing speaker on and you enjoyed that speaker so much, you just simply got carried away. You just didn't look at the time. You thought you were there for 10 minutes listening to the speaker, but you were there for 30 minutes listening to the speaker. And so you arrived for your meeting at the cafeteria and you said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I'm late. I completely got carried away by a speaker, Mike Smith. Have you ever heard him speak? He's incredible. Oh yeah, I can see how you can get carried away. So get carried away means you enjoy something so much, or you're so enthusiastic about it, you drop the ball, you drop a responsibility. That's get carried away. Okay, next one is get off to a bad start. This is so useful in business, and I'll explain why. Let me read you the meaning and example first. Get off to a bad start, to begin something poorly or unsuccessfully. So the trade show got off to a bad start as there was little foot traffic. Okay, so to get off to a bad start, the reason this is so useful in English is you could say it in a conversation. When you're meeting with someone or you're meeting online, let's say you're meeting a prospective client online and your connection's bad. So that's not a great start to any meeting, right? Everyone gets kind of annoyed by it, and you can't really do, everyone's looking at their clock, and you can't really do what you want to be doing in this meeting because you're dealing with all the technical issues. So let's say you're meeting with a prospective client, and the first 3 minutes there's audio problems and there's video problems. Now you get it fixed, and you can say, sorry, we got off to a bad start there. Let's start from the beginning, which just means you're acknowledging that this did not start very well. Let's continue. So if something does start in a way that's a little unsuccessful or not very smooth, this is a great way to kind of to go into now things functioning better, because you're acknowledging, well, this wasn't nice for any of us. Again, you can be in a meeting and maybe you had a couple important phone calls you had to take in a meeting. Well, that's rude to take a phone call in a meeting, but it's also necessary to take a phone call in a meeting. So you're in a meeting, and maybe within 10 minutes you've had to answer two phone calls. And so you can come in and say, listen, I'm sorry, we got off to a bad start there. Let's continue. My phone's in silence now, everything's been dealt with. So you're acknowledging that things didn't start very well, and we'll continue. Now, that's when it comes to meeting with people. To get off to a bad start can also be with a product launch, or it could be with a project, or it could be with sales. So we want to launch our new, I don't have many examples here, so I'm going to need my post-it notes. Well, our new brand of post-it notes. And, sales got off to a bad start. So it just means that we expected the sales to go high, and they were very, very, very slow. And so you're just acknowledging the fact that the launch was not very successful. As soon as these post-it notes were available on the market, sales didn't really go anywhere, and we spent more in advertising than we received in sales. So it just means that the beginning of something was not successful. Whether it will continue to be unsuccessful or it could be successful, this idiom doesn't say. It just means we got off to a bad start and we don't know what the future is going to be when it comes to something exterior, not like a conversation between people. Okay, so that's get off to a bad start. Next one is get one's head around. I love this one also. I mean, I love all these idioms. That's why I put them in the book. Um, I mean, the reason I say I love these words so much is because I've mentioned this in all of my episodes of this podcast. Idioms, they completely pack a punch, like a big impact in a small amount of words. It describes an entire situation, feeling, and perspective in a small amount of words, which, I mean, of course, it's the same in your language. Every language has idioms, but this is why they're so useful in business English, because we just use them, and they say more than words can. So this one here is great. Get one's head around. It just means you can't understand something, or you can understand something. So I can say to get my head around something means I'm able to understand it. We tend to use this idiom more in the negative. So I can't get my head around why the client canceled the contract. I just don't understand it. Or, did you see the presentation? Yeah, I can't really get my head around, the second slide. Like, what did they mean by the data was faulty? So to understand something is to get your head around. We tend to use it in a negative way when we're saying, I can't understand something. I'm going to read you here the example. Get one's head around the meaning, to understand something difficult. Okay. Example, Yulia can't get her head around the new accounting software. So in Yulia's office, they brought in the whole new accounting software, and she just does not understand it. She can't get her head around it. So again, you could say Yulia, if she was good with this accounting software, Yeah, Yulia got her head around the accounting software, but to get her head around it means she was able to finally understand it after trying a lot. We don't use this idiom as much as can't get your head around something. So we tend to use this a bit more in the negative way. So there's lots of parts of English grammar that I know a lot of students can't get their head around. And if you find something difficult to pronounce, you can't get your tongue around it. So if you're speaking with people and you mispronounce a word, you say, "Oh, I always have a hard time getting my tongue around that word. I can't get my tongue around that word." And again, you wouldn't say this so much in the positive way to say you can pronounce something easily. We tend to say it in a negative way. So to get your head around something is to be able to understand it, usually used as a negative, meaning I can't get my head around something. Okay, next one is get out of hand. Now, if something's in hand, it's within control. Okay, if something gets out of hand, you're no longer able to control it or it's out of control. And this is exactly what it means get out of hand. I'll go through the meaning and example for you. Get out of hand, to be uncontrollable or difficult to manage. Uncontrollable or difficult to manage. Examples: the rep's spending is getting out of hand. There's no way I'm approving all of this. So you have a sales rep and they're traveling around visiting clients, and then they bring back their receipts for reimbursement from the company, and the company's like, wow, this spending is getting out of hand. I'm not going to cover all these expenses. So if something gets out of hand, it's just, it was in my hand, I was able to control it, and now it's running away from my hands. I'm no longer able to manage or control it. So spending can get out of hand, which just means your spending has ballooned. Ballooned is like, well, look at like a balloon. It's inflated. So if your spending gets out of hand, your spending is ballooning. It's no longer being controlled by you, or you're not able to control it. A member of staff could get out of hand. So maybe during a meeting, they get really worked up. Worked up means they get too passionate, usually quite angry about something, or they're not very happy working with some people, and they can say, "Oh, your department always gets what you want. Our department doesn't get anything from management." Okay, emotions are getting out of hand here, which just means we're not controlling our emotions. So a person's behavior can get out of hand, spending can get out of hand. Also, with get out of hand could be during a meeting. So if you have a meeting, and of course in a meeting you need to have an agenda, and of course you have an allotted time for that meeting. Let's say you have half an hour for a meeting, like a check-in, a weekly check-in. Now if someone brings in a topic and that topic is taking up a lot of time, you're not controlling the time. So you can say, "Sorry, this topic's getting out of hand a bit. Let's move on to the next topic, otherwise we won't have time to cover everything." So, and when something can't be controlled, it gets out of hand. Okay, this is a really good one. Okay, next one, get the ball rolling. Another one, you probably have heard this one because this is incredibly common in business English. Get the ball rolling. So, and again, so many idioms come from sports and gambling and military and agriculture. And get the ball rolling is this beginning of momentum. So it means to start something. I'm going to go through and read you the meaning and example here. Okay, meaning to start an activity or process. Example, let's get the ball rolling on the new project by scheduling a kickoff meeting. So again, when a ball rolls, if you have a little bit of an incline and you get a ball and you kind of push the ball, once the ball's rolling, it kind of goes on its own, right? It's gonna roll. A ball doesn't, you don't push a ball and the ball goes one little centimeter. No, the ball starts rolling. So this is why we say we use it for starting a project or a process or a procedure. Let's get the ball rolling, or get the ball rolling. And it just means we're going to start this off and we know that this is going to be moving forward. It's not going to be it's not a step, right? It's just going to, okay, it's going to move smoothly ahead. So get the ball rolling. So again, if you're having a conversation and people are doing a lot of small talk, you can say, "Okay, guys, let's get down to business." Or let's get the ball rolling talking about this, which means let's proceed, let's progress talking about this. So it's kind of similar that way. Get down to business means we're going to move from this right to the center of this important topic, or in the core part of the conversation. Get the ball rolling could be in a conversation, but it could be anything you're doing. So again, maybe you're a company and you're developing post-it notes. Okay, looks like everything's done with the development. It looks like we have a great product. Okay, let's get the ball rolling now with marketing. So now we can start marketing, start the process of doing marketing for this. So get the ball rolling. Now, when it comes to interviews, if you're interviewing and I'm interviewee, which is the person applying for the job, the interviewer can say, listen, it looks like everything you have in your CV is exactly what we're looking for. And all your references are fantastic. And I've enjoyed meeting you in the interview. Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll definitely hire you. I'll get the ball rolling with HR and they'll send you a contract next week. So they'll get the ball rolling with HR, which means they'll get HR to start that process of giving you the offer. So get the ball rolling to start a process of something. It's a good one. Okay, next one, get the green light. Now, this is kind of straightforward too. I mean, a lot of idioms are I mean, some idioms are like just where did that come from? That has nothing to do with what it means. Yeah, a lot of are like that. But get the green light is very literal and we understand this. So to get the green light, I mean, you're sitting in your car at an intersection and there's the lights there and you're at the red light and you're waiting and you can't continue until the light goes green. So when you get the green light, you've actually received approval or allowance to proceed. This is what it means in business English. Okay, I'll read you the meaning and example here. Meaning to receive permission or approval to proceed with a plan or a project. Example, we've got the green light from the board to move forward with the expansion. Okay, so you want to go on holiday and you can't just leave work and go on holiday. Unfortunately, we can't do that. You need to get the green light from your manager or HR. You have to. You can't just go on holiday. You have to get permission or approval for you to that thumbs up. Thumbs up means get the green light. You have to get that to be able to do what you want to do. So that's just waiting for permission or approval. So are you going on holiday? Yes, I'm still waiting for management to give me the green light. I'm hoping to get the green light from management. So someone can give you the green light, which is giving you approval, or you can get the green light, which means you receive approval. So give or get, both work. Again, if you want to maybe hire someone else for your department, saying, we have so much work, we cannot meet our deadlines with, 5 staff, we need 6. Okay, let me talk to the CEO. Let's see if we can get someone else from my department. Okay, I'm still waiting for the CEO to give me the green light. Oh, I just got an email this morning. We got the green light to hire someone. So then you can go through that process. So it just means to get approval or permission to do something. It's a great one. Okay, next one is go against the grain. Now the grain, if you were to cut a tree, okay, and then you'd have those rings in the center of the trunk. The trunk is the bottom part of the tree. That's the circles there. And those are the rings of the tree. Now, if you have a tree and you cut it this way, and of the wood, all those lines in wood, that's grain. Now, if you've ever worked with wood and you have that special paper, the sand paper with sand on it, and you're going to sand it, well, you can't sand against the grain, against the lines, against the circles. You have to sand with it. Otherwise, it won't be smooth. So to go against the grain or against the grain just means you're doing things that are causes a little bit of friction and it's not the way things are usually done. The simplest way to put it is imagine petting a cat, right? You pet a cat from their head right down to their tail. That's how cats want to be pet. But if you were to pet a cat from their tail to their head, you would be covered in scratches, right? They don't like that. This is what it means. So go against the grain means you're doing things differently. Let me read you the example and the meaning here. Go against the grain to do something that is contrary to what's generally accepted or expected. His proposal goes against the grain of our shipping policy, but it might work. Okay, so his proposal goes against the grain of our shipping policy, but it might work. So if a shipping policy, things have to be done like this, 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 this. Now, Alexei came in saying, listen, I've got a great way to do our shipping. Okay, but this is our policy, and this goes against, this is contrary to our our policy. This goes against the grain of our policy. This is going to cause some friction. People won't be happy. This is not the right way to do things, but it might work. So it doesn't mean you're not going to use something. I mean, to go against the grain in business could be amazing for you. I mean, it just means to do something differently that's kind of most people don't expect, or most people don't like, or most people don't want, and there's a high risk involved that it won't be successful, but it could be very successful. To go against the grain, to do something in a different way that people don't expect, or not the usual way of policy or procedure. So again, if you're in an interview, and I mean, most interviews don't go against the grain. They're going to ask you the same bits of questions. They're going to ask you all the questions. Tell me about your past. Tell me about your gap. What can you provide to this company that other candidates can't? They're all kind of following the same thing. Well, if you go for a job interview and they ask questions that are just not even HR questions, or they say, you know what, let's go for a walk. We're going to have a walking interview. What? What? Who does that? No one has a walking interview. Interviews are done sitting down in front of your computer, or in the office. So if someone does something totally different, you can say, okay, that goes against the grain, but okay, I'm up for it. And maybe that approach of going against the grain for them is fantastic. Maybe that works for them, and or maybe it's just too strange or too weird or unusual for candidates. They don't like it. So to go against the grain is do something completely different. Usually people don't like it, but it could be successful because it is so radically different. And to go against the grain, it could be bad, it could be good, but usually it's something that's kind of like, you don't do that because we have systems in place for this. So to go against the grain. So again, if you're looking to open a restaurant, and restaurants tend to have really cozy atmospheres, and perhaps you want to open a restaurant and you want to have a really, I don't know, have everything bright yellow, like a subway, like a chain of subways. And okay, well, for high-end restaurants, that goes against the grain. Like, that's unusual to have a Michelin restaurant like bright yellow walls. That goes against the grain. I don't think people are going to like it. That's not what we do. But hey, maybe this crazy idea could be successful. So it doesn't mean something won't be successful, but there's a lot of risk there involved. Okay, let's continue. Go belly up. Oh, this is a fun one. It's fun because I can explain this in 2 seconds. Have you ever had a goldfish as a child? Right? Did you ever have like a pet? And unfortunately, goldfish, they don't have a very long life. So what happens when a fish dies? It goes belly up. Belly means stomach. So to go belly up means to be dead. If for a fish, for example, or an insect, when they go belly up, when their belly's in the sky, facing towards the sky, it means they've died. So to go belly up in business means to completely fail as a company or to go bankrupt. I'll read you the meaning an example here. Okay, go belly up, meaning to fail or go bankrupt. The startup went belly up after just 6 months due to poor management. So that's it. I mean, it's really all it means. So your favorite restaurant take your clients to, oh, it's closed down. It went belly up, which means they went bankrupt or they completely failed as a business. Or a project could go belly up. Oh, yeah, I heard you guys were doing a great expansion into Central America. Oh, that project went belly up. We lost the funding, or we couldn't get the approvals we needed. So that project died. It completely failed. Or a person's career could go belly up. So someone has a career, perhaps they're an entrepreneur, and they're investing a lot in a project that they have, but everything failed. So, or they went bankrupt. So that person has gone belly up. Doesn't mean they died. We don't use this for dying for people at all. We use it for fish or insects to go belly up, to die. But if you're 99% of the time, if you say go belly up, it just means a company or project that has failed, or a company that has closed its doors because it's completely gone bankrupt. So again, if you're in an interview and they say, why did you leave your previous employer? And you could say, well, they were going belly up. So I could see that they were going to, close doors, they were going bankrupt, or the company was going to fail in this many years. Or Again, in an interview, they can say, listen, I see you're a project manager for this big project, and then you went down to team lead. Like, why did you go from a high role to a lower role? That project went belly up because the investors stepped out. So it means it wasn't because of me the project failed or died or went belly up, but the investors pulled out, and so the project went belly up. So that's a great way to explain why something fails and or goes bankrupt, to go belly up. Okay, next one, go the extra mile. I'm pretty sure most languages have a similar idiom here. To go the extra mile is same as to go above and beyond. It just means, for example, if a mile or a kilometer, it means you do more. You cover more ground. You go further than people expect of you. I'm going to read you the example and meaning here. Go the extra mile, to make a special effort or to do more than what is expected. Our realtor always goes the extra mile to ensure satisfaction. So a realtor is a person who sells real estate. Okay, so realtors often they'll give corporate gifts, they'll give gifts to their clients, or if you want to see more places, if you're shopping or looking for a new office for your company, and the realtors, you can call them in the middle of the night about an idea or a office you saw online, and if they say, yeah, no problem, we'll go in there tomorrow, we'll get it done. So this is kind of more than you expected them to do. That means to go the extra mile. So if you're in a meeting and you have a really important client and you're working with this client on a really important project, you can say to your staff, listen, we need to go the extra mile on this. Like, no one's going to function at 100%. We need to go 110%. So whatever the client wants, give them. Whatever deadline you have, submit before the deadline. Like, go the extra mile, do more than what we usually do more than what's expected. Again, when it comes to interviews, I mean, HR managers and hiring managers, they love hearing this. So why should we hire you over the other candidates? You can say, I really go the extra mile in my work. So I don't just do my work. I do my work with care, and then I'll double check it. And then I'll check in with my colleagues, and I'll check in with my clients, and I'll make sure things are done correctly. And if someone needs help, yeah, it's totally fine. I can take on some projects for you. I can do some extra tasks for you. So if you want to say, listen, I'm just not an average worker, I will work harder and better with more heart and more dedication than other people, you can say, I go the extra mile for my employer, for my clients, for my colleagues, for my company, how you want. It's a really good one. Go the extra mile. Next one here is a golden handshake. Okay, golden handshake. Gold, golden, and handshake. Okay, let me read you the meaning and example here. Golden handshake, a large financial reward given to someone who retires or leaves a company. So this just means someone retires or leaves a company. If you leave a company on good terms, you'll get this. And it's a golden handshake. It just means as if they're shaking your hand, saying thank you for your dedication and work and commitment. And but their handshake is full of gold, which just means they're giving you something. They're giving you a bonus. They're giving you extra benefits. They're giving you a large amount of money, shares of the company, whatever it may be. A golden handshake is a departing gift from a company when someone retires or leaves the company. It's a big bonus for that. I'll give you an example here. Walter received a golden handshake after 30 years with the manufacturer. So Walter spent 30 years working for Honda. And when he left the company, he was given a golden handshake. I mean, they gave him a new car, or they gave him a gold watch, or they gave him a big chunk of money to say thank you for all your years of commitment. So he retires. But again, maybe someone just comes into a company for 3 years, but they've done such a great job, and they had, as part of their contract, if I do this is my bonus. Then they're given a golden handshake when they leave, which is a big sum of money. It's usually just money. Okay, next one, grassroots effort. Grassroots effort. This is a nice one. A campaign or movement driven by the general public, often at a local level. So this is a campaign or movement that doesn't come from above, doesn't come from government, It doesn't come from top managers. It comes from us little people. Comes from the bottom. So within a company, a grassroots effort could be maybe your staff are hoping to, I don't know, uh, work with a certain client, and your manager keeps dismissing this client, or and the C-level managers keep dismissing this client, but lower level staff realize that this is a huge opening to partner with this client in our city or in our company or in our country. So if at a lower level they do try to push for this connection working with this client, and they're able to successfully get the client under contract, the manager and the CEOs at the presentation or at a big meeting can say, listen, this was an amazing move for our company working with the client A, but this is completely a grassroots effort, saying that it's the smaller, the little people, the smaller people in the company, they're the ones that did this. It didn't come from us major players and us big wigs. Big wigs means important person. It came from a lower level of people. So again, when it comes to the general public, I mean, if you're not the president of your country or prime minister of your country, or you're not a mover and shaker, like a major player in your country, anything you do is going to be a grassroots effort. So this just means, I'll give you an example here. The overtime policy was implemented thanks to a grassroots effort by employees. So this is for employees. Employees wanted an overtime policy. Management says no. CEOs say no. Everyone else, all the C-level, management level say no. Well, the staff get together saying this has to be done. They keep pushing. They keep meeting. Maybe they go on strike. Who knows what it is? Or they keep presenting reasons why this has to be done. And if it is implemented, well, that was a grassroots effort that had it happen. Back to the general public, when it comes to something in your country, maybe with education, a grassroots effort. If you wanted more money to go in, if you worked in pharmaceuticals, worked for a pharmaceutical company, and you're having a hard time finding people to hire because the education system doesn't really support studying in pharmaceuticals, well, your company is not top in government, but through a grassroots effort from lower average people, you can get your government to change, and you can get your government to put more money into certain bits of studies. So, the pharmaceutical department at this university has grown thanks to a grassroots effort, which means the public, general people, not politicians, not presidents or prime ministers of countries, regular people made an effort to push for this change. That's a grassroots effort. That's a big one. Okay, I'm on to my next page, but it's going to be the same one here. If you're following with the book, it's page 50. Okay, grease the wheels. This is very straightforward and very descriptive also. Okay, if you're riding a bicycle and your bicycle's very slow and it's loud and there's a lot of friction, well, you probably just need grease. Grease means oil in your wheels to have things move faster and quicker. So, same thing for business English. Same, but a little bit different. I'll read you the meaning and example. Grease the wheels. To make a process run more smoothly, often by providing resources or incentives. A small discount can grease the wheels for a larger order. Okay, so again, to make a process run more smoothly, often by providing resources or incentives. Okay, so your company has a partner, and the partner has worked with your company for however many years. But now the partner is going, well, you know what? I'm not so sure if I'll continue our partnership. I might do something else on my own. And then you say, listen, how can we grease the wheels? What can we do to make this more smooth for you? Make this easier for you? Well, you know what? I'd like a bigger discount, or I'd like a better share of profits. Okay, so then you go to your CFO and say, listen, we need to, with this partner, we need to give him bonuses, or we need to give him shares, or we need to give him a percentage of profits. And that will grease the wheels. He will sign on with working for us for another 2 more years. So grease the wheels is going to make this process a lot smoother. Again, when it comes to grease the wheels, if you're trying to incite any change, or you're trying to get someone to do something and they're not really excited about doing it, okay, well, we'll grease the wheels. We'll do something extra. For example, you have a big deadline at work. You need your team to work 2 hours late on Friday. Nobody's happy. Nobody wants to work 2 hours overtime on Friday. Everyone wants to go home. Okay, you guys, we're gonna bring in pizza, and we're gonna bring in, I don't know, some music, and you will work, but we'll have fun, and we'll eat, and we'll feed you. Everyone's like, okay, that's acceptable. So they greased the wheels by providing pizza and some music for staff doing overtime. The staff are like, okay, I can accept this process. It's a little bit easier. So grease the wheels. And again, if you're working in shipping and perhaps your warehouse says, you know what, there's no way we can get your order out today. And sales calls saying, listen, I promised the client this order would be shipped today and delivered tomorrow. And the warehouse and shipping goes, nope, we can't do it. Okay, what's it going to take to grease the wheels? Well, we need more people. Okay, I'll send someone down from accounting to help you in the warehouse. That's perfect. Thank you. So you found a solution, sending someone down to help in the warehouse to grease the wheels to make this process a little bit easier. So that's a really great one, grease the wheels. Okay, grin and bear it. Now, this is incredibly common. If you've been watching and listening to my podcasts, or you have my book, you'll know I have these little purple little flags next to some of the most common words or idioms that are used in English, and grin and bear it is definitely there. Okay, grin is another word for smile. Okay, grin's another word for smile. And if you think of the meme, and there is a meme, it's kind of old now, and it was um this guy with like an older man with like white hair, and he had a look of pain on his eyes, but he had a big smile on his face and like really, really white teeth. And it was a really popular meme because he was smiling, but you could tell behind his eyes he was like dying inside. He was very unhappy. And this is that meme kind of encompassed the idiom grin and bear it. So grin and bear it just means you have to accept a difficult situation and continue. So grin, smile, and deal with it. That's what it means. Grin and bear it, smile, and deal with it. This is incredibly common. Like this could be at, I don't know, our presentation was completely lost. Someone deleted it from the cloud. Well, the client's coming in half an hour. Okay, we'll just grin and bear it. We just have to be positive and get through it. Or someone did not get the promotion they wanted to get. And well, what are you going to do about your job? Are you going to quit? No, I can't quit my job. I need my job. I'm just going to have to grin and bear it. Just smile and be positive and work through it. So this is a grin and bear it. I'm going to read you the meaning and example here. Grin and bear it, to endure a difficult or unpleasant situation with a good attitude, or at least on the outside, you have a good attitude. Example, the new CFO is unpopular, but we just have to grin and bear it. This happens a lot in companies, right? You have management that you like, and then they leave the company and someone new comes in, and they bring in a lot of change or a different way of doing things, and a lot of staff are unhappy. Well, what are you going to do? Not everyone can leave a job and find another job. You have to just grin and bear it. You have to just deal with it and move on. There's nothing that can be done with that. And again, you do an interview, and you had an interview, but you were very nervous, and maybe you made some mistakes. Or the interviewer, her name was Olga, and you called her Jane. And I thought, oh gosh, what are you going to do about it? Just grin and bear it. Just smile and continue through it. So to grin and bear something is to deal with a situation with either you're have a poker face of a smile, you're just okay, I'll get through this as best as I can, because what else can you do? Or you're genuinely optimistic or positive, or think, okay, it could get better. But it just means you accept that something's very difficult or something's bad, and you have to just go with it. You have to continue. Again, you're visiting a client, and the traffic is horrible, and you're going to be late for the meeting, and you just feel so awful, and you've sent a message saying, I'm so sorry, I'm running 30 minutes behind, what can I do? And maybe the client's really upset, saying, you can't do anything, don't bother coming. Okay, well, you just have to grin and bear it. There's nothing you can do. But the next time you meet with them, you could grease the wheels a little bit, right? You bring them some donuts from the local cafe, and that will grease the wheels. make that relationship a little bit smoother. There we go. Next one is gung ho. Gung ho. Now, the history of gung ho, I'm not certain on because gung ho is not English, but gung ho means enthusiastic and positive. This is a really, really, really common one. I mean, obviously, it sounds Chinese to me. Gung ho, we use it so much, and gung ho would be perhaps like in markets. People negotiating price and bargaining for a better price. This could be where it came from. Sometimes we don't know where all these idioms have come from. So sometimes we do know the history of an idiom. Sometimes we have no idea. And sometimes there's several different theories. And this is one of them, gung ho. I'm going to read you the meaning and example here. Okay, meaning extremely enthusiastic and eager. Example, the team is gung ho about the annual conference in Mexico. So gung ho means the team is so excited about the annual conference in Mexico. Who wouldn't be excited to go to beautiful Mexico? So that means gung ho. So for example, you're in an interview and they say, listen, we'd love to offer you the job. Oh, I'm gung ho. Thank you so much. I'm eager. I'm excited. I'm enthusiastic about this. Or again, you're having a big meeting with your team and say, listen, we have this new product line. This is the best product we've ever launched. This is going to be huge. I hope you're all really gung ho about this. I hope you're all really excited about this and enthusiastic about this. So gung ho, it be anytime you want to say that you're excited, enthusiastic, passionate about something, and eager to do it as well. Okay, and the very last one of G, we're at the very last one now, is go through the roof. Okay, so if you look right above you, that's a ceiling. Okay, a ceiling is an interior top to a room. On the outside of your house, the very top of your house or your apartment, that's the roof. Now, if something goes up so high, so quickly, it's going to shoot through the roof and up into the sky. So to go through the roof is like to skyrocket, to go up really, really, really quickly. So this could be negative or positive. It could be completely neutral. It just means something goes up really, really high. I'll give you the meaning and example here. Okay, go through the roof, to increase or rise dramatically. Example, sales went through the roof after the successful advertising campaign. Okay, so sales were like fine and fine and fine, and we launched this advertising campaign, and then sales, they shot up off of our pie chart, off of our bar graph. They shot up right through the roof. So just to rise dramatically is go through the roof. Now, to go through the roof, it could be negative also. So customer complaints, have gone through the roof. So complaints went really high. We weren't expecting it. Inflation can go through the roof. Um, Taxes can go through the roof. Payments can go through the roof. So it could be something really bad that rises really quickly, or it could be something positive. So enthusiasm has gone through the roof in our company, or sales have gone through the roof. Employee retention, employee satisfaction has gone through the roof, which just means it's not a little increase. It's a shoot. It's a biggest. Okay, as promised, here is your quiz. Now, in my book, at the end of every letter, there's 2 or 3 quizzes at the end of every single letter. And then after the end of every group of letters, like 3 or 4 or 5 letters, there's a big quiz, about 5 different types of quizzes here. So here on this podcast, I'm just going to be doing one of the quizzes after each letter. So I'm going to give you a dialogue. And in the dialogue, I'm going to use regular vocabulary. But one of those regular words you have to replace with an idiom. On the screen, you can see that word in bold, but as I read it, if you're listening to the podcast, don't worry, I'll let you know which word you need to replace. Okay, let's jump right in. So first call, this is a sales call between Yuri and Tim. Okay, Tim says, hi, Yuri, it's great to finally connect. I appreciate you taking the time to chat today. Yuri says, likewise, Tim. Likewise means, yes, you too. It was nice meeting you too. I'm interested in what you have to offer, but I want to make sure it aligns with our needs. Tim responds, absolutely. And I think our solution is really advancing in your industry. Advancing. That's the word you have to replace with an idiom from the previous of all the idioms of G. You need to find an idiom there that means advancing. Advancing. Yuri responds, that's good to hear. I'd love to hear how it could work for us. Tim responds, great, let's begin. Begin. What's an idiom for begin? Let's begin. Think of an idiom for begin. But before we start, I'd like to understand your key pay points. Before we start, what's an idiom for start? To start a process. What's an idiom for starting a process? But before we start, I'd like to understand your key pain points. What are your biggest challenges right now? Yuri responds, well, one is convincing senior management to do things differently and try out a new system. So do things differently. Do things differently than the way they're done. To do something a different way. A risk. Understandable, says Tim. If we can get approval from leadership, I can walk you through a tailored plan. If we can get approval. What's an idiom for getting approval? If we can get approval from leadership. Think of an idiom there. Yuri responds, that sounds promising. Let me take this to my team and I'll get back to you by next week. Tim says, perfect. I'm happy to hear you're excited to move forward. Excited. What's an idiom for excited? Excited. An idiom for excited, eager, enthusiastic. Yuri responds, thanks, Tim. I appreciate your time. Tim says, likewise, Yuri, looking forward to working together. Okay, so that's the dialogue there. Now we have advance, advancing in your industry. I think our solution is really advancing in your industry. Advancing. Think of an idiom, advancing. Let's begin. An idiom that means begin. But before we start, think of an idiom that means start. One challenge is convincing senior management to do things differently. To do things differently. What's an idiom? Do things differently. Next one, if we can get approval from leadership, get approval. What's an idiom that means get approval? And happy to hear you're excited to move forward. Excited. What's an idiom that means excited? Okay, do you have most of your answers there? Now I'm going to read you the entire dialogue with the idioms in place. Here we go. Hi, Yuri. It's great to finally connect. I appreciate you taking the time to chat today. Likewise, Tim. I'm interested in what you have to offer, but I want to make sure it aligns with our needs. Absolutely. And I think our solution is really gaining ground in your industry. Gaining ground. Gaining ground. There you go. That's good to hear. I'd love to see how it could work for us. Great. Let's get down to business. But before we get the ball rolling, I'd like to understand your key pain points. What are your biggest challenges right now? Well, one is convincing senior management to go against the grain and try out a new system. Understandable. If we can get the green light from leadership, I can walk you through tailored plans. That sounds promising. Let me take this to my team and I'll get back to you by next week. Perfect. Happy to hear you're gung-ho to move forward. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate your time. Likewise, Yuri, looking forward to working together. Okay, so we had gaining ground, advancing. We had get down to business, begin, get the ball rolling, start a process, go against the grain, do things differently, get the green light, get approval, gung-ho, excited. Okay, I hope you found that useful and helpful. I'm going to read this dialogue for you one more time just to lock in those idioms for you. Here we go. Hi, Yuri. It's great to finally connect. I appreciate you taking the time to chat today. Likewise, Tim. I'm interested in what you have to offer, but I want to make sure it aligns with our needs. Absolutely. And I think our solution is really gaining ground in your industry. That's good to hear. I'd like to see how it could work for us. Great. Let's get down to business. But before we get the ball rolling, I'd like to understand your key pain points. What are your biggest challenges right now? Well, one is convincing senior management to go against the grain and try out a new system. Understandable. If we can get a green light from leadership, I can walk you through a tailored plan. That sounds promising. Let me take this to my team and I'll get back to you by next week. Perfect. Happy to hear you're gung-ho to move forward. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate your time. Likewise, Yuri. Looking forward to working together. How'd you do? Hopefully you're able to guess most of those and get them right. If not, just keep listening and repeating. Using these new idioms in a sentence that's relevant for your work is very helpful as well. Thank you for joining my podcast. I'll see you back here for 8.